Alpha King Soren Malk took the iron pass key from Mairen Clove while the rescue bells were still ringing beneath the snow. 22 patrol riders had vanished under Widow's Pass before dawn. Their wolves had not returned. Their signal poles lay broken along the lower ridge, and the last white flare had burned beneath a wall of falling ice. Now the entire pass village stood outside the rescue station while Border Warden Tavrasen read the charge. Keeper Mairen Clove opened the western traverse after storm closure, directing a royal patrol beneath an unstable shelf. By order of the Alpha King, her authority is revoked. Widow's Pass station is sealed pending judgment. Soren pushed the key into the black wax evidence box. The click was small. Mairen heard it more clearly than the bells. She was 46, broad through the shoulders, with silver already threading the dark braid beneath her snow hood. 15 winters of rescue work had taught her how to stand without wasting heat. The village called her the Snow Widow because her husband, Edric Clove, had died beneath the same mountain 7 years earlier. They had blamed weather then. Today they blamed her. The western traverse was never opened, Mairen said. Tavra held up the route ledger. Your mark appears beside the patrol line. My warning mark. The patrol captain read it as clearance, because the red bar above it has been scraped away. A murmur passed through the villagers. Tavra did not look at the ledger. The page was recovered beneath avalanche debris. Damage is expected. Snow does not scrape one line and leave the ink beneath it dry. Soren's face remained controlled. He wore black winter armor, edged in gray wolf fur, his dark hair wet with melting snow. The first winter of his reign, Mairen had led him through a whiteout after his escort abandoned the ridge. He had followed the rope tied around her waist because she was the only person who could hear the mountain shifting through her boots. He had trusted every step she chose. Now he stood beside Tavra. You advised closure? He asked. At third bell, and the patrol entered at fourth. After someone moved the route stakes, Tavra's gaze sharpened. You accuse the warden's office without proof. I accuse whoever turned my red stakes white. Soren looked toward the buried slope. 22 riders are missing. Yes, yet you refuse responsibility for the route bearing your mark. I refuse a lie while men are still breathing beneath it. The rescue bells sounded again from inside the station. Mairen turned toward the door. Open it. Tavra signaled to 2 border guards. They crossed the entrance with hooked spears. The station is evidence. The station holds shovels, listening horns, heat cloth, and the only tunnel map of the western shelf. Nothing moves until the royal survey arrives. The buried patrol does not have until the royal survey. Soren's jaw tightened. How long? Mairen looked at the snow settling along the eaves. If the lower chamber held, 6 hours. If the blast broke the ice pocket, less than 2. Tavra gave a quiet breath of disbelief. Blast? Mairen faced the ridge. The fall began from beneath the shelf, not above it. An avalanche begins where the snow releases. This one released uphill and downward at once. That is impossible. Not if something struck the stone under the snow. Soren stepped closer. You heard it? I felt 2 pressure blows before the ridge broke. Why is that absent from your report? Because your warden took my report before the ink dried. Tavra's expression did not change. I secured an unreliable keeper after a mass casualty. You closed the only rescue house while the casualty was still alive, Mairen said. Soren held out his hand. Your rescue seal. Mairen looked at him. The seal hung beneath her coat beside Edric's old snow gauge. Without it, no pack worker could legally follow her into a closed pass. You survived your first winter because you obeyed me when the mountain was louder than your crown. This is not that winter. No. Then only your life depended on whether you listened. The words struck hard enough that several guards lowered their eyes. Soren did not. Your seal. Mairen removed it and placed it in his palm. He closed his fingers around the silver disc. He had not buried the patrol, but he had just taken the hand most likely to reach them. One more authority taken. One more door between the buried and the tools meant to reach them. Tavra ordered the station windows boarded. Mairen turned toward the lower wall, where hundreds of pale stones had been set into the foundation. They were ordinary to anyone who had never worked avalanche country, smooth, silver-veined rocks gathered after each winter collapse. Edric had taught her what they held. Not memory, pressure. Avalanche stones retained the direction and force of whatever had last driven the mountain down. They did not defend keepers, judge guilt, or name the hand that caused a fall. When disturbed by the same snowfield that had buried them, they released the stored pressure in reverse. They could not tell who placed the force. They could only show where the mountain had received it. One stone clicked against another. Tavra looked toward the wall. The first silver rock rolled out from beneath the station foundation. Then a second. Then 20. They moved across the flat yard against the wind. Uphill. The villagers stepped back as hundreds of avalanche stones broke free from the retaining wall and rolled toward the western slope. They did not circle Mairen. They did not touch Soren's boots. They climbed the mountain along the path of the force that had struck it. Tavra called to the guards. "Contain them." "No," Mairen said. "Mark the line." Soren lifted one hand before the guards could move. The stones crossed the patrol route, ignored the place where Mairen's warning stakes had stood, and turned sharply toward a narrow service shelf used by the warden's office. At the base of the shelf, they stopped. Every silver vein pointed toward one patch of black snow. Mairen knelt and brushed the powder aside. Beneath it lay a drilled iron cap with blue blasting salt crusted along the seam. The stones had not cleared her. They had shown where the mountain had been struck. From far below the buried patrol line came 3 faint knocks. Not shifting ice. A rescue code. Someone under the avalanche was still alive. And the only legal rescue authority had just been taken from the woman who heard him. The stones had shown a wound in the mountain. They had not yet shown the hand that made it. 3 knocks came again from beneath the western shelf. Slower this time. The villagers stopped breathing long enough to hear the final strike fade inside the snow. Tavra Sen looked toward the drilled cap. Blue blasting salt is used for controlled cornice cuts. Every border pass stores it. "Not beneath an active patrol route," Mairen said. "The service shelf is used by survey teams. An old charge may have been exposed by the slide. Then bring the charge ledger. The Royal Survey will examine it." Another knock sounded. Only one. Mairen turned toward the sealed station. The mountain does not care whose order is lawful. Tavra stepped between her and the door. The rescue house remains evidence. The stones move through disturbed snow. The signal below may be an echo from shifting ice. Mairen struck the ground twice with the heel of her boot. After a pause, 2 knocks answered from beneath the slope. Echoes do not count. Soren looked from the buried patrol line to the black wax evidence box holding the passkey. "One witnessed rescue action," he said. "You identify the pocket. Royal workers perform the excavation." Mairen faced him. "No." The refusal carried across the yard. His eyes narrowed. "There are living riders below us." "Yes. That is why I will not put Tavra's workers under my direction while my authority remains revoked. You would delay rescue over standing? You delayed rescue by taking it." Tavra spoke quietly. "She is using buried men to bargain for reinstatement." "The rescue seal is not honor," Mairen said. "It is permission to put living bodies above procedure. Without it, every worker who follows me into a closed pass can be punished for disobedience." Soren held the silver disc in his gloved hand. "I can protect them by royal command, until the next warden calls their tools contaminated. You ask me to reverse a public judgment before the evidence is complete. I ask you to stop pretending a private exception repairs a public removal." The code came again. 1 weak knock. Soren's jaw tightened. Then he turned toward the villagers, royal guards, and patrol families gathered beneath the snow banners. "Witness this. Mairen Clove's rescue authority is restored for all actions required to locate and recover the North Watch Patrol. No worker following her command may be charged with violating pass closure." He placed the rescue seal back in her hand. Not the pass key, not her station, not her name cleared from the charge, but enough authority to move living hands. He had returned what the dying forced him to return. He had not yet returned what judgment had stolen. Mairen fastened the silver disc beneath her coat. "Open the station." "The key remains evidence," Tavra said. Soren did not reach for the box. Mairen crossed to the lower foundation instead. Edric never trusted a rescue house with only one door. She knelt beside the stones that had rolled free and pushed 2 fingers into a narrow iron groove. Snow packed the seam. She cleared it with the edge of her glove, then pressed the rescue seal into a hidden socket. A square hatch released beneath the boarded window. Tavra stared at it. "Unregistered access. Emergency tool hatch," Mairen said. "Built after the east roof froze. Shut 12 winters ago. By your husband? By a man who understood that sealed doors kill faster than storms." The hatch opened into the lower equipment room. Mairen entered first. Soren followed. She stopped at once. "You stand behind me." He had not heard that command from her since his first winter at Widow's Pass. Then he had obeyed because he could not see through the whiteout. Now he obeyed because 22 lives depended upon her knowing what came next. Tavra entered with 2 border guards and a court witness. Mairen opened the listening cabinet. Most of the tools remained in place. 3 horn tubes, folding shovels, heat cloth, breathing reeds, and coil rope. 1 long listening horn was missing. The empty bracket was dry beneath the frost, as if the horn had been taken before the station was sealed. "Who removed it?" Soren asked. Tavra examined the bracket. "Storm season redistribution." "To which station?" "The North Shelf suffered equipment shortages." "Produce the requisition," Mairen said. "The inventory records remain under evidence review. The horn was removed before this room was sealed. Dry wood proves only that the bracket was sheltered. It proves the frost formed after the horn left." Tavra's expression remained calm. "A missing tool does not establish interference. Rescue equipment is moved wherever winter risk is greatest. The greatest risk is breathing under 30 feet of snow while the nearest horn sits somewhere else." Mairen took the remaining instrument and led them through the hatch. Outside, she pressed the wide copper mouth against the snow above the stone's path. Soren held the lower brace when she told him. Tavra watched the court witness record every movement. Mairen placed her ear to the narrow end. At first she heard only snow settling, then breath. Several people. 1 man struck metal against ice. 3 short. 1 long. "Patrol shelter code," she said. "They found a pressure pocket." "How many?" Soren asked. "The horn cannot count bodies. Can it show distance?" She shifted the mouthpiece, listening from 3 points. 30 feet below, west of the patrol line. The pocket is narrowing. Tavra looked toward the main slope. A direct shaft risks another release. "Yes." "Then we wait for the survey crew." "No." Mairen unfolded the tunnel map over a supply crate. Edric's handwriting marked old snow chambers, rock ribs, and abandoned drainage cuts beneath the pass. "The main descent crosses the pressure wound. Dig there, and the upper shelf comes down." Soren leaned over the map. "Another route?" "A side shaft from the lower service corridor. It reaches the pocket beneath the load." Tavra's face remained still. That corridor was condemned. "Why?" "Seasonal instability. Show the collapse mark. There is no time for archival review." Then there was no collapse. Soren looked at the map. "How quickly can you reach them through the shaft?" 40 minutes if it is open. Longer if the inner braces froze." The listening horn carried another strike. "Weaker. A sealed station could preserve evidence. It could also preserve death." Mairen gathered 6 shovels, 2 breathing reeds, rope, and every heat cloth left in the lower room. She selected 8 rescue workers by name. Tavra blocked the side path. "The corridor is under warden restriction. Move. You cannot enter a condemned shaft on the strength of an old map. I can under active rescue authority." Soren faced Tavra. "Why was it sealed?" "Winter maintenance." "When?" "Last year." Mairen stopped. The side shaft had remained open through every winter since Edric built the lower braces. No seasonal closure had ever appeared on her station copy. "Who ordered it?" she asked. "The border office." The answer named authority, not yet the hand that used it. Mairen followed the service path around the western wall. At the shaft entrance, new iron plates covered the stone arch. Blue Warden wax filled the bolt heads. A closure date had been stamped into the metal. The previous winter. The only safe route to the living patrol had been sealed beneath a warden mark dated months before the avalanche. The warden mark proved authority. It did not yet prove whose hand had turned the bolt. Tavra Sen laid 1 gloved finger against the stamped plate. The shaft was condemned after a pressure fault split the western braces. Opening it without a survey crew could bring the shelf down on the patrol. Mairen knelt beside the lower bolt. The closure date is 10 months old. As recorded, the wax is not. Blue sealing wax filled the bolt head in 2 layers. The outer ring had dulled beneath a winter of frost. Beneath it, a darker line still held the sharp edge of the warden stamp. Mairen scraped 1 grain free with her shovel buckle. This reinforcement was placed after the first freeze. "Seasonal maintenance requires resealing," Tavra said. "Then there should be a second entry. The maintenance ledger is held at North Gate. Along with the missing horn, equipment shortage and structural safety are separate matters." From beneath the slope came 2 faint strikes. The second barely reached them. Mairen stood. Mairen, Soren said, if the shaft is unstable, the patrol dies whether we open it badly or leave it closed well. Tavra turned to him. Rescue Command does not erase the warden's duty to prevent a second collapse. No, Mairen said, but a false closure is not safety. You have not proved it false. I do not have time to prove the office lied before opening the lie. Soren faced the court witness. Record this. The plate will be opened under Royal and Rescue Authority. Border Warden sends objection remains attached. Tavra did not retreat. If the braces fail, every worker inside becomes part of the burial. Then stand outside and record that I warned you, Mairen said. I will enter. Mairen studied her. Under my command. Under witness. In the shaft, Mairen commands, Soren said. Tavra observes unless ordered otherwise. The Alpha King had given Mairen back the seal. The mountain still knew he had taken the key. So did every worker who waited to see whether his returned trust would last beyond the first danger. Mairen selected 4 workers for the plate, sent the others below the fall line, and made Soren hold the upper safety chain. You are breaking an official closure, Tavra said. I am opening a rescue route. The first bolt resisted. Fresh wax clogged the groove beneath the older seal. Mairen heated a narrow tool and cleared it without disturbing the stamped rim. Keep that wax, she told the witness. Separate the inner layer from the outer. The second bolt turned. The third had been driven at an angle from outside. Its head bore no strain marks from shifting rock. A collapse bends metal from within, Mairen said. This was tightened after the plate was seated, or corrected during maintenance. Then the record will say so. The rescue code sounded again. 1 strike. No answer followed when Mairen struck the stone twice. She looked at Soren. Pull. The workers hauled on the chain. Soren took the upper weight when one man slipped. Iron dragged across stone with a scream that rolled into the snowfield. No roof fell. No brace snapped. Cold air came from the darkness behind the plate. Mairen raised her lantern. The shaft had been called condemned. Behind the plate, it was waiting. Edric's timber braces stood dark with age but straight. Chalk pressure marks remained unbroken along the crossbeams. No fresh splintering showed in the roof. Tavra examined the nearest support. Surface stability does not guarantee the lower bend. Then we test every span. We do not bury living men beneath an assumption. Mairen tied the lead rope around her waist. Soren reached for the second knot. No. His hand stopped. You remain at the plate. If the upper shelf shifts, you keep the exit open. I can carry more weight than any worker here. Strength does not matter if you stand where I do not need you. His face hardened, but he took the chain. Once, he had followed her through a whiteout because survival stripped rank down to obedience. Now 22 lives required the same lesson. Mairen entered with 3 rescue workers, Tavra and the witness. They advanced 1 brace at a time. Mairen tapped each beam, listened for hollow rot, then marked it safe. The shaft descended beneath the pressure wound, close enough that the mountain's weight seemed to breathe through the roof. At the first bend, Tavra touched a pale fracture in the wall. There, the instability report. Mairen brushed frost from it. Old mineral seam. It can widen under load. That is why Edric bridged it. The support arch remained intact. New iron teeth had been added to the base, not to strengthen it, but to hold another closure plate that had never been installed. Mairen's lamp moved over tool scratches in the snow. Someone had entered recently. The tracks began near a maintenance vent too narrow for a wolf but wide enough for equipment. Survey access, Tavra said. Without an entry in my station log? The shaft was under warden control. Closed to rescuers. Open to survey tools. That is what controlled access means. A low sound passed through the floor. A human groan carried through packed ice. Mairen dropped to one knee and pressed her palm to the stone. The pocket shifted east. How long? The witness asked. Less than an hour. They moved faster. At the second bend, fresh snow had been pushed through the maintenance vent and packed over something long and metallic. Mairen cleared it with both hands. Copper appeared beneath the frost. The missing long listening horn lay buried across the shaft floor. Its wide mouth had been wedged against the eastern wall. Its narrow end rested on folded warden cloth, positioned at the height of a kneeling listener. The missing horn had not been misplaced. Someone had removed it from the only room that could hear the living carried it into a supposedly condemned shaft, and left it aimed at the patrol pocket before the official rescue ever began. When Mairen struck twice against the stone, only one faint scrape answered. The horn did not prove why it had been placed. It proved someone had listened before the station was opened. Tavresen brushed snow from the folded warden cloth beneath its narrow end. Acoustic surveys are standard in unstable shafts. A listening horn may be positioned before excavation to measure internal movement. Then where's the survey record? Mairen asked. At North Gate. Everything useful appears to be at North Gate, because that is where border records are stored. Mairen did not spend another breath arguing. She lifted the horn from the floor and examined the angle of the copper mouth. Someone had wedged it against a narrow seam in the eastern wall, 3 feet below the old pressure mark. The placement was precise. Whoever had listened from there had known that sound carried more clearly through the side rib than through the packed snow above. The horn's mouth knows the pocket better than the warden's report does, she said. Tavra's expression tightened. Monitoring a condemned shaft is not sabotage. Monitoring the dying is not rescue. Mairen pressed the horn back against the seam and listened. Nothing. She struck the wall once. A faint scrape answered from beyond the stone. Not a code now. Someone moving because he no longer had strength to strike. The pocket has shifted against the side rib, she said. We cut here. One rescue worker touched the rock. That seam carries the roof. Not the whole roof. Edric built a relief arch behind it. You cannot know the timber survived. I can hear it taking weight. Tavra stepped closer. If you cut through the wrong rib, the pocket collapses. If we wait, it closes without our help. Mairen marked a narrow crescent on the stone. No picks above this line. Shovels only once the rock thins. Brace every foot. She sent one worker back to the entrance with a rope signal for Soren. 3 pulls to tighten the exit chain, 2 to release. The line came taut almost immediately. Soren still held the pass key in evidence. Mairen held the root in her hands. The first worker drove a short iron wedge beneath the marked seam. Mairen stopped him after 2 strikes and pressed her ear to the wall. Lower. He adjusted. The wedge entered more quietly. Stone dust fell across their gloves. The shaft trembled once, a deep movement that traveled through the floor and into Mairen's knees. Hold, she called. The rescue workers froze. At the entrance, the chain tightened. Soren took the load before the upper plate could shift. Wood groaned along Edric's old braces, then settled. Tavra looked toward the darkness behind them. The roof moved. The roof transferred weight, Mairen said. Different sound. You are trusting construction made by a dead man. I am reading timber that is still alive. They resumed. The cut widened by inches. Behind the stone lay hard blue ice packed with fragments of wolf harness and black patrol cloth. Mairen pushed a breathing reed through the first opening. Can anyone hear me? For several seconds, only air moved through the tube. Then a man coughed. North watch, Mairen said. Do not move toward the sound. We are cutting beneath the load. A broken voice answered. 3. Here. Only 3 near the wall. The rest might be deeper in the pocket. Mairen fed warm air through the reed and ordered the workers to widen the opening around it. No one struck above shoulder height. Every loose stone came out by hand. A second tremor passed through the shaft. This one sharpened into a crack above the first bend. The exit rope jerked hard. Soren's voice carried from beyond the tunnel. Upper plate is shifting. Do not release it. I am not. Wrap the chain around the anchor post. The post is splitting. Then use your body until the second chain reaches you. Silence answered for half a breath. Then the chain pulled tighter. The Alpha King obeyed. Mairen returned to the wall. The opening became wide enough for one shoulder. A rescue worker crawled through with a heat cloth tied around his waist. He disappeared into the ice pocket, then shouted back. 1 survivor at the cut. Leg trapped. 2 more behind him. Free the chest first, Mairen said. Do not pull the leg until I see the pressure. She crawled through after him. The pocket was barely high enough to kneel. Broken sled boards supported part of the snow ceiling. 3 patrol riders lay pressed together beneath torn cloaks. 1 wolf was alive beside them, its muzzle buried beneath its foreleg to preserve heat. The nearest rider opened frost-swollen eyes. Keeper? Yes. Thought. Station was closed. It was. His laugh became a cough. Mairen wrapped heat cloth around his chest and checked the trapped leg. A broken route stake had lodged between his boot and the ice, preventing the snow slab from crushing him completely. "Do not move this," she told the worker. "It is carrying weight." The rider gripped her sleeve. "White stakes," he whispered. "What about them?" Captain followed white stakes west. "My western stakes were red." "White," he repeated. "Fresh chalk, warden mark on the heads." Tavra had crawled close enough to hear. Storm abrasion can strip red paint. Snow glare can make faded stakes appear white. Mairen looked at the trapped timber. The paint did not fade between third bell and fourth. "You were not on the patrol line when they entered." "No, I was writing the warning your office removed." The rider's hand weakened on her sleeve. Mairen stopped questioning him. "Save your breath." She ordered the workers to brace the ceiling with 2 short boards, then lift the pressure slab just enough to slide the man free. The first attempt failed. On the second, the shaft chain tightened again, as Soren held the entrance against another movement. The rider came loose with a cry. They carried him through the cut, wrapped him in heat cloth, and sent him toward the station on the rescue rope. Only 1 survivor reached the surface. 21 remained beneath the mountain. Before the worker took him away, the rider forced something into Mairen's hand. The broken root stake that had held the snow from his leg. Its outer surface was coated in fresh white warden chalk. Beneath the fracture, protected from wind and ice, Mairen's red warning paint remained bright. The red paint proved the stake had been altered. It did not prove who had covered it in white. Mairen wrapped the broken piece in clean cloth and gave it to the court witness. "Record where it was found, who carried it out, and that the protected fracture still holds my warning paint." Tavra Sen did not dispute the color. Warden chalk is issued to every border patrol, survey crew, and winter road team. Possession does not identify the hand. "No," Mairen said, "but it proves the storm did not strip the red away. The patrol may have repainted a damaged marker in the field. Then the patrol captain can explain why. If he survives." The words landed harder than Tavra raised her voice. From inside the shaft came a single rope pull. The workers had found movement deeper in the pocket. Mairen turned away from the stake. "Heat cloth to the cut. 2 more breathing reeds. No one widens the opening until I inspect the load." The first survivor lay near the station fire, under the care of village healers. His testimony had to wait. 21 riders remained under snow, and the mountain had begun settling toward them. Mairen crawled back through the side rib. The 2 men nearest the opening were conscious now, but the pocket narrowed behind them beneath a blue wall of compressed ice. Broken harness, shields, and wolf tack had frozen into the barrier. Voices came from beyond it. Too many voices. Too little air. "How thick?" one worker asked. Mairen placed the listening horn against 3 points along the wall. 4 feet at the center. Less near the floor. "We cut low? If the lower slab is carrying the ceiling, we bury them." She moved the horn higher. Sound traveled differently through the ice there, hollow, then dense, then hollow again. The avalanche had split around an old stone rib. 1 half of the patrol pocket lay beside them. The other had been trapped behind a suspended shelf of snow and rock. "The patrol is divided," she said. Tavra crouched at the opening. "A second pocket?" "1 pocket broken by the fall. Then the far side may already be lost." A weak howl answered from beyond the wall. "Not human. A patrol wolf." Mairen pressed the horn tighter. 3 men answered with scraping metal. "Alive. The far side is not lost." She marked a narrow opening above the densest ice. "We cut a breathing channel first, no wider than my wrist." Tavra looked at the fractured stone rib. "That line crosses the western support. It crosses beside it. You cannot see the support through the ice. I can hear where the weight stops." The shaft shifted under them. Mairen felt it through both knees before the hanging lantern moved. She looked toward the entrance rope. It remained slack. "Soren." No answer. She pulled twice. The line should have tightened immediately. Instead, the upper chain moved only after the roof gave a second, deeper groan. Then Soren took the weight. Too late. Snow poured through a crack behind Tavra. 1 worker threw himself over the breathing reeds. Mairen braced the horn beneath the falling edge until the movement stopped. "Soren," she called again. "Why did you wait?" His voice came from the bend. "I felt no shift until the chain moved." Mairen went still. 7 years earlier, before Edric died, every northern alpha could sense pressure through stone. Their wolves heard weight where human ears heard silence. Soren had once known a shelf would break before even Mairen's gauge confirmed it. Now he had missed 2 movements. Tavra watched her understand. The chain held, Soren said. That was not my question. This is not the place. No, this is exactly the place. The men beyond the ice scraped again. Mairen forced her attention back to them. Keep the chain locked. Do not wait for your wolf. Follow the rope. Silence answered. Then Soren said, Understood. She did not ask how long he had been unable to hear the mountain. Not while people were breathing through a hand-width of air. The workers cut the channel. At the third inch, a gust of stale warmth escaped from the far pocket. Someone on the other side coughed, then called out a count. 8 here. 8 alive beyond the barrier. That left 13, unaccounted for. Mairen pushed a breathing reed through and fed warm air into the opening. Northwatch, listen. Do not strike the ice. Do not shift toward us. Your ceiling is suspended. A hoarse voice answered. Captain is hurt. Can he speak? Sometimes. Ask what happened after the white stakes. The response took time. He says, We turned west, then heard 2 blasts. First below us, second uphill. Tavra leaned toward the opening. Controlled cornice cuts often use paired charges. Not while a patrol is beneath the shelf, Mairen said. Unless the patrol entered after closure. They entered because the warning stakes had been changed. The stake proves alteration. It does not prove timing. Mairen ignored her. Ask whether they saw a survey crew. The men beyond the ice relayed the question. No crew, came the answer. Only warden lamps on the upper service shelf. Tavra's expression remained composed. Signal lamps are fixed along that route. Were they lit? A pause. One moving. Not proof of a person. Not proof of Tavra. But something had crossed the shelf before the mountain broke. The ice wall cracked. Everyone heard it. Mairen flattened one hand against the surface. The suspended shelf above the far pocket had begun transferring weight downward. How long? A worker whispered. Minute. We cannot open 4 feet of ice in minutes. We do not open the center. Mairen pointed toward the old stone rib. Edric built relief notches into every western brace. If one remains behind this wall, we can lift the shelf long enough to widen the breathing cut. Tavra shook her head. Those notches were designed for timber corridors, not avalanche load. They were designed for exactly what men call impossible after someone else prepares for it. Mairen tied the lead rope around her waist. Soren, come forward. He appeared at the bend, shoulders white with fallen snow, one hand bleeding where the chain had torn through his glove. You said I remain at the exit. I need your strength at the rib. The second chain is secured. His chaza held hers. She saw the question he did not ask. Did she still trust him enough to place him beneath the mountain? No, but she trusted him to obey. You lift when I say, she told him. Not when you think the pressure changes. He stepped beside her. Tavra moved back as Mairen guided Soren's hands into the narrow relief notch hidden beneath the ice. The Alpha King bent his shoulders under the frozen beam. Now? Not yet. The far pocket gave one weak howl. Mairen listened to the stone, waited through one settling breath, then another. Now. Soren lifted. The ice shelf rose less than an inch. It was enough. The workers drove a brace beneath it and widened the breathing channel, while Mairen counted every tremor through the floor. From beyond the wall, the injured patrol captain forced out one final sentence. The moving lamp stopped where the old trade road begins. Tavra's private winter road lay beyond that ridge. But before anyone could speak, a second voice came through the reed. There are more below us. Mairen pressed her ear to the ice. Under the first pocket, beneath another buried layer, someone was knocking from deeper inside the mountain. The deeper knocks changed the rescue geometry. Mairen pressed both hands to the ice floor beneath the first pocket. The sound came through stone, not snow. 3 uneven strikes, then silence, then 2 more. Below us, she said. Tavra crouched beside the breathing channel. There is no registered chamber beneath this shelf. Then something unregistered is holding survivors. The old trade gallery collapsed before I took office. Collapsed galleries do not answer. Soren still held the relief beam above the widened cut. His shoulders shook beneath the load, but he did not move without instruction. How many levels? He asked. At least 2. Can we reach the lower one from here? Not through the pocket floor. We break that slab, we drop the 8 riders onto whoever is beneath them. Mairen listened again. The lower knocks did not repeat. She looked toward the side wall where Edric's old relief notch continued beneath the ice. There may be a drainage descent behind the stone rib. Tavra shook her head. That route was part of the abandoned trade road. It was sealed after smuggling violations. Sealed by whom? Border Authority. Under which record? At North Gate. Mairen almost laughed, but there was no room in the mountain for bitterness that did not move a shovel. Then North Gate may explain itself after we open the living route. Tavra's voice cooled. You are treating every closure as deceit because one stake was altered. No, I am treating every unexplained closure as a danger until the buried stop breathing. The ice above the far pocket groaned. Mairen turned to the workers. Brace the upper chamber. 2 timbers across the broken sled. Keep warm air moving through both reeds. She faced Soren. Lower the beam 1 finger at a time when I tell you. His jaw tightened. If I release too fast, you will not. He met her eyes. He had once known the mountain through his wolf. Now he knew it only through her commands. Ready, he said. Mairen counted the pressure breaths beneath her palms. Down. Soren eased the beam onto the new brace. Wood took the weight with a low complaint but held. Only then did Mairen crawl toward the stone rib. A narrow gap opened behind it, filled with old black ice. She cleared the surface with her knife and found 3 chisel marks cut into the rock. Edric's pattern, 1 high, 2 low. The mark meant hidden descent. Mairen's breath stopped for half a moment. 7 years earlier, Edric had entered this mountain during the avalanche that killed him. His body had never been recovered. Only his torn rescue coat had been found near the village road. You recognize it, Soren said. Yes. Tavra leaned closer. A common miner's notch. No miner cut his second stroke left-handed. Mairen traced the shallow line. Edric had broken 2 fingers on his right hand the winter before he died. Every mark he made afterward leaned slightly toward the left. She did not let herself ask why his sign remained inside a gallery supposedly collapsed before Tavra's tenure. Not yet. The mountain had given them a witness. It had not given them time. Mairen drove a thin probe through the black ice behind the mark. The tool entered farther than expected. Hollow. The workers cleared around the opening. Cold air rose from below, carrying the smell of old timber, wolf fur, and grain dust. Grain. Tavra heard Mairen breathe it in. Trade stores remained in the galleries after closure, the warden said. After 7 winters, dry cold preserves more than flesh. Mairen widened the opening by hand. Beneath the ice lay a narrow stone stair descending into darkness. Not collapsed. Hidden. A closed route could be caution. A false closure was a grave with paperwork. Mairen tied a second rope around her waist. Soren reached for it. You stay here, she said. No. The word struck harder than rank. Mairen looked at him. The upper brace is holding. Another worker can take it. You cannot sense the lower shelf, she said quietly. His face changed. Tavra looked between them. Soren did not deny it. I can hold weight. I need obedience more than instinct. Then give me an order. Mairen studied the strain in his hands, the cut across his palm, the anger he directed mostly at himself. Follow exactly where I step. Touch nothing unless I name it. He tied himself to the rope behind her. Tavra objected. The Alpha King cannot enter an unregistered lower gallery during an active collapse. Soren looked at her. Record that I entered under rescue command. Mairen descended first. The stair ended in an old freight passage reinforced with black pine. Recent boot marks crossed the frost. Along one wall stood torn grain sacks stamped with border transport seals. Some marks belonged to minor packs. Others had been scraped away. The knocks came from behind a fallen freight door. Mairen placed the listening horn against the wood. Breathing answered. Several people. A wolf scratched once from the other side. We found them, Soren said. No, we found another barrier. The door had fallen inward beneath a snow load. Its upper hinge was wedged beneath stone. Pulling it directly would collapse the passage roof. Mairen examined the floor. Lift from the lower corner. Slowly. Soren crouched where she pointed. Now? Wait. His muscles tightened, but he held. She placed one hand on the door and one on the floor. The pressure moved unevenly through the timber. Now. Soren lifted. The workers drove wedges beneath the frame. Mairen opened a gap wide enough for a breathing reed. How many? She called. A weak voice answered. 5 riders, 2 wolves. 13 survivors accounted for. 9 still missing. Any severe bleeding? Captain Darren's brother cannot feel his feet. Keep him awake. We are opening beneath you. As the gap widened, one of the trapped riders pushed a leather satchel through first. Found this in the lower snow, he said. Thought it belonged to the keeper. Mairen took it. The leather had darkened with age. One brass clasp was bent in the shape of a crescent. Edric's clasp. Inside lay a cracked pressure gauge, a strip of blue blasting salt cloth, and a folded trade map marked in his hand. The final line ended beneath Widow's Pass. Beside it, Edric had written one unfinished warning. If they cut the upper shelf, turn the fall away from the village. Mairen stared at the words. Her husband had not died because he failed to read the mountain. He had known someone intended to break it. Edric's warning changed the rescue map before it changed the accusation. Mairen spread the damp trade sheet across an overturned grain crate. The ink had bled at the folds, but Edric's root marks remained sharp beneath the frost. One line showed the upper shelf. A second cut across it from the service ledge. A third curved away from Widow's Pass village and ended in the abandoned freight gallery where they now stood. He redirected the fall, Mairen said. Tavresen examined the map without touching it, or planned an emergency cornice release. Keepers study diversion paths every winter. This line was drawn after the first pressure fracture. You cannot date pencil by sight. The paper carries blast dust beneath the final fold. Blue salt was stored throughout the old galleries. Mairen closed the satchel. The map did not prove who planned the charges. It proved Edric had found them before the avalanche that killed him. Above them, timber groaned beneath shifting snow. 5 patrol riders still waited behind the freight door. 9 remained unaccounted for. Mairen gave the satchel to the court witness. Keep it dry. Record that it came from the lower gallery before anyone read it aloud. Then she returned to the door. Soren held the lower corner exactly where she had placed him. His arms trembled under the weight. Lift 1 inch. He obeyed. The workers drove a second wedge beneath the frame. Snow spilled through the upper seam, but the roof held. Again, the gap widened enough for the smallest rescuer to crawl through. Heat cloth followed, then one wounded rider, then another. The third man could not use his legs. Soren shifted his grip. The door rose too quickly. Stop, Mairen said. He froze. A stone cracked above his shoulder. Everyone heard it. Soren had not. Mairen stepped closer. You cannot feel the load moving. Tavra looked toward the Alpha King. The workers did too. Soren's face hardened beneath the strain. Not reliably. How long? Mairen asked. Since the North Ridge collapsed 3 winters ago. You let the border office read the mountain for you. I let Tavra's reports replace what my wolf no longer heard. The admission entered the passage without ceremony. But every worker understood its cost. Northern alphas were expected to sense pressure through stone. A king who could not hear a mountain break had concealed a weakness directly tied to pass authority. Tavra spoke first. His Majesty's injury was classified for the security of the northern packs. Was my warning classified too? Mairen asked. No, only ignored. The roof shifted again. Mairen pointed to the rope wrapped around Soren's wrist. Do not trust your wolf. Trust the line. When it tightens, lower. When it slackens, hold. Soren nodded once. No defense. No command. The 5 riders came through one at a time. 2 wolves followed on their bellies, ribs showing beneath wet fur. 13 patrol members had now been reached. 9 were still somewhere below the mountain. One rescued rider caught Mairen's sleeve. The captain sent them down before the second blast. Down where? Old Grain Run. He thought the first fall would pass over it. Did he know the gallery was open? He saw a lamp below. Tavra's voice remained level. Maintenance crews used the lower route. During a declared storm closure? Mairen asked. Emergency inspections do not follow ordinary access rules. Did you authorize one? I will answer from the access ledger. At North Gate. Yes. The phrase no longer sounded like procedure. It sounded like distance carefully maintained between evidence and the people buried beneath it. Mairen studied Edric's map again. His diversion line ended at a small cross beneath the freight passage. A pressure release. Not for the avalanche above. For the gallery below. He opened a spill chamber, she said. One rescuer frowned. There is no chamber on the station map, because Edric built it after the old plan was copied. Mairen followed the wall until she found a row of black stones mortared beneath the frost. The third stone carried a shallow left-leaning chisel mark. She pressed it. Nothing moved. Soren stepped beside her. What do you need? Weight on the upper seam. Slowly, he placed both hands where she showed him. Now, the stone shifted inward. A concealed drain opened beneath the wall, releasing a stream of powder snow into the gallery. Behind it lay a narrow descent reinforced with broken wagon rails. Cold air rose from below. So did the smell of blood. Mairen took the lead rope. Tavra moved toward the opening. You cannot send workers into an undocumented chamber based on a dead keeper's private marks. Then remain here. I am still Border Warden. In this passage, you are a witness. Soren looked at Tavra. You will follow Mairen's commands. Tavra's eyes settled on him. You are placing Crown authority behind evidence that has not been authenticated. No, I am placing it behind people who have not been recovered. Mairen descended. The spill chamber lay beneath the old grain run, half filled with snow diverted from the first avalanche. Broken patrol shields formed a shelter against one wall. 8 riders were inside. 7 moved when the lantern light reached them. 1 did not. The patrol captain knelt beside the still body with one arm bound to his chest. His face had gone gray with cold. Keeper Clove, he said, you led them beneath the western shelf. I followed the white route. My stakes were red. I know that now. He reached beneath his cloak and gave her a narrow metal cylinder. Found it beside the upper lamp before the fall. Inside was a strip from a blast schedule. No signature remained. The lower edge had been torn away. But the schedule named 2 charge times. The second matched the moment the patrol entered the shelf. Tavra studied it from the stair. An unsigned fragment proves no authorization. No, Mairen said. It proves the second blast was scheduled. The captain closed his eyes. There were not 2 blasts. Everyone went still. Mairen crouched beside him. You heard only 1? I heard 3. He pointed weakly toward the wall behind the dead rider. The third came from below us. A fresh fracture split the chamber floor. From beneath it rose warm air carrying grain dust and torch smoke. The old trade road was not abandoned. Someone was using it beneath Widow's Pass. Warm air beneath the fractured floor meant passage. It did not mean the passage would remain open. Mairen ordered the 7 living riders moved before anyone touched the lower breach. The dead man came last, wrapped in his patrol cloak and tied separately from the rescue rope. No body is left to become part of the structure, she said. The patrol captain tried to stand. You do not command from your feet, Mairen told him. You command by staying conscious long enough to give a full count. 22 launched. How many entered the western shelf? All of us. How many did you see after the second blast? 21. 1 rider had been separated before the spill chamber formed. Mairen looked toward the smoke rising through the cracked floor. The missing patrolman might have fallen into the old trade road, or someone below might have taken him. The chamber ceiling shifted as the rescuers carried the first wounded man toward the stair. Soren returned from the upper gallery after transferring the exit chain to 2 workers. You left the plate, Mairen said. It is double anchored. Did I tell you to come below? No. Then go back. A muscle moved along his jaw. The fracture is widening. You need another body at the lower brace. I need one that follows instruction before deciding where it belongs. The words struck him, but he did not answer with rank. What is the instruction? Mairen pointed to the broken shields supporting the chamber roof. Hold the center brace while the 7 living pass. If the rope tightens twice, lower your shoulder. If it tightens once, do not move. Soren took his place beneath the timber. Tavra Sen watched him obey. You are allowing a suspended chamber to dictate royal movement. No, Soren said. The rescue keeper is. One by one, the 7 survivors were carried out. The last conscious rider caught Tavra's mantle as he passed. Why was there grain smoke below us? Tavra removed his hand without cruelty. Smugglers use abandoned passages. Then your abandoned road has warm fires. Which is why the lower route requires armed inspection. Mairen heard the change in her argument. The road had been collapsed, then condemned. Now it contained smugglers. Every explanation preserved the office while changing the facts. When the final survivor cleared the stair, the chamber floor gave a sharp crack. Single pull, Mairen called. Soren held still. Snow dropped around his boots. The center brace bent but did not break. Now lower. The rope tightened twice. Soren shifted one shoulder beneath the timber and transferred the load into the stone rib. The fracture stopped spreading. Mairen knelt beside the opening. Torch smoke moved upward in measured breaths. Someone below had built a vented fire, not a hidden camp flame. The draft carried grain dust, lamp oil, and hot iron. An operating freight road. She widened the breach beside the rib rather than through its center. Tavra objected only once. The lower gallery may contain armed trespassers. Then remain behind me. I will not surrender border inspection to a suspended keeper. My rescue authority is active. Your authority covers the patrol. One patrolman remains missing. That ended the argument. Mairen descended first with a short shovel, listening horn, and rope. Soren followed only when she called him. Tavra and the court witness came behind 2 rescue workers. The lower road was large enough for 2 grain sleds to pass side by side. Fresh wheel grooves cut through the frost. Iron lamps burned inside wall cages. Their shutters carried no public pass number, only a narrow crescent mark used for private winter contracts. Along the left wall stood sacks of barley and salt flour bearing the seals of minor packs from the eastern valleys. Each original seal had been crossed with white chalk. New price tablets hung from the cords. Mairen read the numbers. 3 times the crown rate. Tavra examined the nearest tablet. Emergency winter transport includes risk tariffs. On grain already belonging to the packs named beneath the chalk, ownership changes through debt settlement. Where are the contracts? At the Northern Trade Office. North Gate again? The Border Administration does not carry every ledger into a storm. Soren lifted one price tablet. A royal emergency mark appeared beneath the crescent. His mark. Not his handwriting. Not his personal order, but authority issued from his crown. He had not built the hidden road. His seal had made its tolls enforceable. Mairen looked at him. This is what dependents bought. Soren did not set the tablet down. This road is secured under court witness. No grain leaves until ownership is reviewed. Tavra stepped forward. Stopping winter freight will starve smaller packs before the inquiry ends. If the grain belongs to them, Mairen said, returning it is not starvation. A sound came from farther down the road. Metal dragged once across stone, then stopped. Mairen raised the listening horn. The wide mouth caught breath beyond a freight gate 20 yards ahead. Human breath. They moved past 3 loaded sleds and a row of blast crates stamped for controlled cornice work. 2 crates were open. Their inventory boards listed 6 charges. Only 3 remained. Tavra read the count. Charges are transferred between passes. Then the transfer ledger will name where the missing 3 went, Mairen said. The freight gate had been dropped from the roadside. A fresh blast scar marked the stone above it. The 3rd explosion. It had not come from beneath the patrol pocket. It had been used to close the road after the avalanche began. Mairen pressed the horn to the gate. North watch. Answer once. A scrape came back. Alive. The rescue workers lifted the lower bar while Soren held the damaged hinge. The gate opened 6 inches before stone caught its upper edge. Mairen crawled through. The missing patrolman lay beside an overturned signal lamp. One leg was pinned beneath a grain axle. His face was bloodless with cold, but his eyes opened when she touched him. Keeper Clove? All 22 are counted now. He tried to speak again. Save your breath. Wagons, he whispered. They were moving before the fall. Did you see who commanded them? Faces covered, Warden road cloaks. Tavra spoke through the gate. Every licensed winter driver wears that cloak. The patrolman nodded weakly. He had not named her. He reached beneath his coat and removed a small iron wedge. I pulled this from the lower blast line. Mairen recognized the cut along its edge. Edric's left-leaning tool mark. The wedge was 7 years old. The fresh blasting salt around it was not. Someone had reopened the charge channel Edric once used to redirect the mountain. Mairen looked from the wedge to the freight road, then toward the village hidden above thousands of tons of snow. Her husband had not entered the first avalanche trying to outrun it. He had gone below to turn it away from Widow's Pass. And someone had reused the route of his sacrifice to bury the patrol. The old wedge linked 2 avalanches by method. It did not yet link them by author. Mairen wrapped the iron in evidence cloth and pushed it through the freight gate before touching the trapped patrolman's leg. Axle first, she said. No pulling until the weight is transferred. Soren crouched beside the grain sled. Where? Under the rear beam. Lift only when I count. Tavra Sen remained on the roadside of the gate. The wedge may have remained in that channel since Edric Clove's accident. The blasting salt around it did not, Mairen said. Then someone reused an existing cornice line. Yes, that is not proof of sabotage. Border engineers reopen old channels during emergency work. During an active patrol crossing? The charge schedule has not been authenticated. Mairen looked at the man beneath the axle. Neither has his death. I intend to prevent it. She wedged 2 broken sled boards beneath the wheel. Soren placed his shoulder under the rear beam. Now? Wait. He held still. Mairen cleared packed snow from the patrolman's boot and felt along the trapped leg. No exposed break. The axle had pinned him against a grain sack, not crushed him against stone. On 3. Soren lifted. The beam rose. The workers pulled the patrolman free and wrapped him in the last dry heat cloth. His wolf crawled beneath the gate after him, dragging one hind leg but alive. 22 patrol riders had entered Widow's Pass. 21 would leave it breathing. Mairen stood beside the dead rider when they carried him through the lower gallery. She did not let Tavra's guards take the body before the court witness recorded his name. No casualty would become an uncounted convenience. The rescue procession reached the surface near nightfall. Families waited beyond the station yard. Some ran toward the heat tents. Others remained motionless until each survivor's name was spoken aloud. The first rider rescued from the ice pocket sat upright beneath 3 blankets. His face was white with cold, but his voice carried. The root stakes were white. The patrol captain, lying beside him with one arm bound, added, "The western line appeared open. We saw a moving warden lamp above the service shelf before the first blast." Tavra stood before the gathered packs without lowering her head. White root stakes are lawful indicators. Warden lamps are used by licensed crews. Neither fact identifies an unlawful order. The court witness placed the broken stake on the station table. Fresh white chalk covered the surface. Mairen's red warning paint remained inside the fracture. Then came the blast schedule, the missing horn, the fresh bolt wax, Edric's map, the reopened charge wedge, the freight road price tablets, and the crate inventory showing 3 charges removed. No single item convicted Tavra. Together, they described a system that had required too many coincidences to remain invisible. Soren opened the black wax evidence box. Inside lay Mairen's pass key. He did not return it yet. Instead, he faced Tavra. Who authorized the private road tariffs? Emergency Winter Authority issued under the Crown's seal. Who selected the contracted carriers? The Border Trade Office. Who controlled that office? The office answered to me. Who approved the 3 missing charges? The transfer record is held at North Gate. A tired sound moved through the survivors. Tavra heard it. Her voice remained precise. You cannot govern a winter border through village suspicion. Grain must move when public roads fail. Controlled charges must be placed where shelves threaten passage. Records must be centralized because minor packs alter accounts to escape debt. Mairen looked at the price tablet bearing the crossed-out seals of smaller packs. Their own grain was moved under your road, then sold back to them at 3 times the crown rate. Transport debt changed ownership. After the public pass was made unsafe. That has not been proved. The patrol crossed, changed stakes. The charge line was reopened. The rescue shaft was falsely recorded as unstable. The listening horn was removed before the station was sealed. Those facts remain under review. And 21 living riders remain above the snow because we did not wait for your review. Tavra turned to Soren. You know what happens when every minor pack controls its own route. Smuggling increases. Grain vanishes. Rival alphas close roads against one another. Central authority prevents winter from becoming civil war. Soren held the price tablet in one hand and Mairen's key in the other. Central authority also allowed me to accept your reports without reading the mountain myself. The admission quieted the yard. He removed one glove. The chain wound across his palm had opened again. 3 winters ago, I lost the pressure sense of my wolf. I concealed it. I permitted the border office to decide which shelves were safe, which roads remained open, and which warnings reached the crown. Tavra's expression changed for the first time. Not fear. Calculation. You protected the throne from weakness. I protected the appearance of strength. He looked toward the survivors. An appearance buried a patrol. Mairen did not let the confession become absolution. You also took my seal while the rescue code was sounding. Yes. You closed the station. Yes. You called me careless before examining the warning stake. Yes. He did not ask her to soften the record. Soren placed the pass key on the table before every witness. Mairen Clove's suspension is lifted. Her rescue authority and pass authority are restored pending no further crown review. Mairen did not reach for the key. Pending no review is still your gift. His eyes met hers. What do you require? A pass? No single king or warden can close against the people beneath it. Joint oversight from every pack that depends on this road. Separate rescue records. Separate trade records. No charge placement without two keeper witnesses. Tavra spoke sharply. You would divide command across frightened villages. I would divide the power that hid a road beneath them. Before Soren could answer, a grinding sound crossed the mountain. Not thunder. Stone. Every avalanche stone remaining in the station wall began to shake. Then they rolled free. Not toward Tavra. Not toward the freight road. They climbed the eastern slope and turned their silver veins toward Widow's Pass village. Mairen looked up at the loaded shelf above the roofs. The old diversion channel Edric had opened 7 years earlier was blocked by the hidden grain road. The mountain had not finished falling. The eastern shelf shifted before anyone reached for the pass key. A white fracture opened above Widow's Pass village. Snow poured through it in a thin stream, testing the slope before the full weight came down. Mairen looked from the Avalanche Stones to Edric's map. They are tracing the blocked pressure path. Taversen followed the silver veins pointing toward the village. The stones showed direction, not timing. The slope answered with a deeper crack. Mairen turned to the patrol captain. How long before your wolves can move? Some now. Most cannot climb. Then they do not climb. Every able worker goes to the lower grain road. Tavra stepped between her and the evidence table. That freight must remain secured. If the road is open during a release, the eastern packs lose their winter stores. The road is blocking Edric's diversion channel. You do not know that. I know the mountain is sending pressure where the village stands. Mairen took the pass key from the table. Soren did not stop her. Under whose authority? Tavra asked. Mine, Mairen said. Restored before witnesses. And if your husband's map is wrong, then I carry the error in public, not beneath another sealed report. She ordered the village bells rung in evacuation pattern. Families moved toward the northern stone terraces, while rescue workers carried the wounded from the heat tents. No one waited for royal permission. Soren reached for his wolf cloak. Where do you need me? At the lower road. Break the freight locks when I name them. Those locks bear crown enforcement seals. Then your hands are suited to the work. They descended through the reopened side shaft. Tavra followed with the court witness and 2 guards. She continued arguing as they moved. Destroying contracted grain may kill more people than the avalanche. We are not destroying it, Mairen said. We are moving it out of a channel that should never have become a warehouse. The hidden road trembled beneath their boots. At the junction beneath the village, 6 loaded grain sleds stood across a stone spillway. Iron braces had been driven through their wheels, converting the road into a storage bay. Behind them, old snow pressed against a sealed freight gate. Mairen opened Edric's map. His unfinished line ended at the same junction. He diverted the first avalanche through this channel. Soren examined the walls. Deep scratches crossed the stone, all angled away from the village. One old timber brace had broken under outward pressure. Edric's rescue seal remained hammered into it. He had stood there when the mountain came, not trapped by accident, holding the gate open long enough to turn the fall. Mairen placed her gloved fingers over the seal but did not remove it. For 7 years she had believed she failed to reach him. The mountain showed something harder and kinder. Edric had chosen the place where he would not be reached. Tavra looked at the blocked spillway. The road was converted after the old channel was judged unnecessary. By whom? Soren asked. Border Trade Authority. The court witness opened the iron contract box fixed to the nearest sled. Inside lay tariff rolls, route leases, and charge transfers. One order authorized the grain road expansion. Another approved sealing the spillway. Both carried Tavra's personal countermark. She did not confess. She read the documents and said, the channel had not been used in 7 winters. The road fed 9 packs, and made them pay for grain taken through their own sealed route, Mairen said. I prevented shortages through centralized control. You created the shortage that made control profitable. The shelf moved again. Dust and frost fell from the road ceiling. Mairen pointed to the sleds. Cut the wheel braces. Empty the eastern gate. Move every sack onto the side platforms. Tavra raised one hand. If the lower gate opens, the release may enter the freight crews. There are no freight crews below. There may be drivers on the south branch. Then ring warning through the road. No public bell reaches private corridors. That silence condemned the system more completely than accusation. A road-carrying pack grain had no warning bell for the people working inside it. Soren drew his sword and struck the first crown-sealed brace. Iron split. He moved to the next. The surviving patrol riders who could stand joined the workers. Smaller pack villagers formed lines through the shaft, passing grain sacks upward instead of abandoning them. The mountain roared. "Faster," Mairen said. The final sled remained locked beneath a double-crown chain. Soren lifted his sword. Mairen stopped him. "The chain carries roof tension." She studied the bolts, then placed Edric's old wedge beneath the lower link. This is what he used before. The left-leaning cut fit the old channel perfectly. Soren braced beside her. "Tell me when." Mairen pressed her palm to the road floor. She felt the pressure gathering above the village, searching for the path Edric had once opened. Now, Soren drove the wedge. The chain broke. The last sled rolled clear. Mairen pulled the spillgate lever. For one breath, nothing happened. Then the blocked snow behind it burst into the old diversion channel. The force tore through the freight road, carrying broken crates and white dust away from Widow's Pass. Above them, the eastern shelf collapsed. But the avalanche did not strike the village. It followed Edric's route into the empty ravine. When the sound ended, Mairen remained beside his seal in the wall. Soren stood behind her. He did not touch her. "He saved them," he said. He knew what the first charge would do. And someone used his channel again. Yes. The public judgment began after the final survivor was carried into daylight. Tavra was removed from border authority pending trial for falsified closures, concealed trade operations, unauthorized charge deployment, altered route administration, and obstruction of rescue. She continued to argue that central control had preserved winter supply. The records would decide where necessity ended and profiteering began. Mairen's warning was entered into the royal record. The 21 survivors confirmed the white stakes. Edric Clove was named not as an avalanche casualty, but as the keeper who diverted the first fall from Widow's Pass. Soren surrendered sole authority over pass closures. The new charter required shared approval from rescue keepers and the minor packs dependent on the route. Trade ledgers, charge ledgers, and rescue records could no longer be held by one office. Months later, Soren returned to Widow's Pass without royal banners. Mairen found him repairing a warning post beneath Edric's old route. "You painted it red," she said. "I was told red means closed. It means someone listened before sending people forward." He looked toward her. "I am learning the difference." Mairen handed him the hammer. "Then hold the post straight." He did. Above them, the Avalanche Stones rested silent in the rebuilt wall. The mountain no longer needed to roll backward to make the truth visible.